Hello everyone and welcome back to another Figurehead Reviews video. And today we are taking a look at the Transformers Red Walmart exclusive Megatron. Here we have Megatron displayed in the front window. About halfway down we see some artwork there and then his name just below that. We also have the notice letting us know that this is the non-converting figure. On the side we have an open window that has all of Megatron's accessories on display. On the back, we get some product shots there of Megatron. No read-up or anything like that, but some cool poses. On the very bottom, we have the UPC code, so you can check with your local Walmart to see if they have this in stock. But enough about that. Let's get this open and take a look at Megatron. And here is Megatron outside of his packaging. And if you watched my Optimus Prime review, you found that I wasn't thoroughly impressed with this line. Megatron hasn't really changed my opinion on that, at least not yet. After messing around with him some more, his posability seems, I don't know if I'd say better, but it just is different from what you could do with Optimus. The shoulders are definitely weird, which we'll go over when we do our closer looks. There's some other odd choices again. For example, they have the dark gray peg in the upper knee into the light gray portion of the body sculpt, much like they did again with Optimus with the blue peg and the white part of the leg. So there's some things that they easily overlooked that could have just made this slightly better. It does seem that we get a good amount of paint on this figure in the areas that matter, but a lot of it is just going to be the molded plastic in the appropriate colors, so I guess no real surprises there. But overall, yeah, I don't know how I feel about this line yet, but of course I'll go into more detail here in a moment. Now, we do get a fair amount of accessories with Megatron, but they're mostly for his left hand. Now, starting first here, he does come with a fisted hand out of the package on his right hand, but we also get one for the left. And then for the left hand, we do have this open gesture hand, which is very similar, but is not identical to the one that we got with Optimus Prime. And out of the packaging, he is going to come with this gripping hand in his left hand, which I'm not really sure why, because we don't get any accessories for him to hold on to. And then continuing on for the left hand, we do get this command finger here, most likely Megatron ordering a retreat here, though. And for the final piece on the left hand, we do have this Energon cube, which came out looking pretty cool, I will admit. It's all one sculpted piece, so the hand will be holding onto it. The only thing that I don't like is the top. You have what appears to be a cap there, so it's not necessarily molded all as one piece. It looks like, I don't know, I'm guessing maybe it's hollow in there. They had to put that cap on it. It's kind of unfortunate because I don't know, it feels pretty noticeable to me, but otherwise it's still a pretty cool concept with him holding on to that. And then the final accessory for his right hand is going to be the Energon mace, and I say for his right hand because that's just how it's usually shown. But we do get that mace just like we got Optimus's Energon axe, where it was featured in the episode More Than Meets the Eye Part 2, where these two fought on the dam. And I think that's really cool that Hasbro included both of these weapons, the mace and the axe, just because it was one of the earlier fights that we saw between Megatron and Optimus, so it's kind of cool you can recreate that. However, unlike the axe, this does not have any kind of hinge or anything like that. Of course, it can rotate, but I will say that depending on how you have it, this is certainly going to throw some of the weight off and might end up hanging down or even getting the arm in a pose that you don't want it in. So it might be kind of tricky to pose it, but I don't think it'll be too big a deal to get it how you want it to look. And when standing straight up, Megatron is coming in at 6 1/8 inches tall, which makes about 15.6 centimeters. So he's slightly taller than Optimus, but that's only because of the barrel of his gun mode that's sticking out of his back. To the top of his head, he's about 6 inches. But anyway, since we already looked at all of his accessories, let's go ahead and just jump in here and get a closer look at Megatron. And getting up close here, starting first with the head sculpt, we can see something that we would expect to see for a G1 Megatron. It's pretty faithful. You get the cheekbones sculpted, we get a scowl there, pretty basic paint for the eyes, but it looks good. I mean, it looks as I would expect it to look. One of the biggest downsides, though, at least on my figure, that marbling coming through again. And you might say that that's meant to be sculpted in. I mean, the line is, because you can see the line that starts at the top of his head and does go down to this side. But yeah, that looks like marbling to me. And I mean, it's not awful. It's not the worst thing. Thankfully, you could kind of pass it off as maybe battle damage or something like that. But even look at like some of the dimples there in the plastic. it's just, I don't know, this plastic is soft. I guess it mars really easily. And I mean, that's not even anything I'm doing. It's not like I'm coming over here and poking at it or anything. It just, I don't know, it seems like it really easily gets markings and things like that. But the sculpt itself isn't terrible looking. We just get, like I said, those few issues. Looking at the rest of the torso here, again, staying very faithful to the original G1 design. So you get some real basic shapes and colors there. I mean, it's pretty cool looking, I guess, because, again, it does stay pretty faithful to the original G1. Looking at the Decepticon logo, that came out sculpted really well and actually painted pretty decent. A little bit misaligned, but it can be overlooked. But again, one of the advantages of this series, you don't have all the extra kibble and everything. You have it as it was drawn in the original G1 cartoons, and they stayed pretty faithful here to it. Barrel of the gun, nothing real complicated there. Pretty simple design. Same thing going to the scope, which of course turns into his arm blaster. Again, pretty simple design. You get a little bit of paint there, which actually, thankfully, was accurate. But we see some more of just these, I mean, I don't even know if I would call that marbling. That looks like just maybe a leftover flashing from like the injection molding. And that's just all over on these figures. Like, that there, is that meant to be sculpted in? That I can't tell. But you can kind of see how you get sort of a shiny material. Like, it's a change in the plastic for sure. You can see that, especially when the light hits it. You can see that change in the plastic. So I feel like that's just more the marbling. But the rest of the sculpt work is, like I said, pretty basic in design, and it looks good as far as being faithful. So I don't have a problem with that. Little side pieces do move up and down so that you can move the legs. I did mention using the dark gray pins for the light gray part of the legs. That is frustrating. We saw the same thing with Optimus, where they used the blue pins in the white part. So that is really annoying. I mean, I guess they just didn't want to take the time to sculpt the different colors, so they just have the same pin, and they figured it would look best here. But I would almost argue with the design, I can see these pins more than I can see these pins. I don't know. Looking at the legs, so on the front, the marbling's not bad. When you get to the side, it's kind of the same story that I said before, where when you see the light reflect, you can see the light hit different areas, and it's, I don't know, it's kind of odd. Like, the marbling on this isn't as prevalent, I don't think, but I would say that those reflections mean that it is still there. So, yeah, that's weird. We get just some basic paint work and stuff like that on the feet. So, yeah, that's, I don't know, it's not bad, but it's just not great. And that's kind of so far been my thought on the line. Now, looking at the articulation on Megatron, we get some changes here that we saw compared to Optimus. So the head still has pretty much the same movement. You can look up a pretty good amount, and actually it can look down as well. Now, the arms, because we have these pieces sticking out at the top, the arms are not going to have the same type of articulation. So, for example, if I bring this arm up, I cannot move it out that way simply because of the way that design is. So instead, he has this hinge here at the shoulder, which, from what I've seen on a couple of reviews, is actually not that uncommon for a Megatron figure to have this type of hinge there. So it's just kind of interesting to see on a 6-inch figure. You do have full rotation. You do get rotation there at the upper elbow, but then it is only a single jointed elbow that you do get 90 degrees on. You do have a rotation and hinge on the hands. We do actually, with this Megatron, get an ab crunch. So the way you can see, it's hidden behind the back piece there. So it's completely hidden, and it's just down in there. And it's actually not bad. It does go back a ways. But of course, or it goes down a ways, it does not go back at all, because obviously we have this big piece there that is going to prevent it from going back. But that is cool that they did figure out how to do an ab crunch with this sculpt. You do have a waist rotation, legs that can come apart about that far, can kick forward, yeah, not much, backwards, not much. Much like Optimus, we do have an upper thigh cut, but it breaks that sculpt up pretty badly. But, I mean, they have square legs. As I said before, not much you can do with that. He does have double-jointed knees. And then he does have a hinge here at the ankle with some pivot, and actually something that I didn't catch with Optimus, you actually have these legs, or feet rather, can drop down. So if you have it tucked in, if you just kind of pull it out, you can see you get a little bit more. Let me push one in so you can see the difference there. So you can see the difference almost flush, whereas this one, when you pull it out, comes out quite a ways. And the good thing about that is you get a much deeper hinge, and you do actually get a bit more pivot. And then, like I said, you can actually do that with the Optimus figure as well. I just didn't know it. This is all the way in, I think. Well, maybe that is all the way out. But either way, you can do it with the Optimus figure too. There we go. So I did miss that little bit. So keep that in mind, that is a extra feature that you have with these figures. And that is going to do it for this review, everyone. So having reviewed now 2 figures from this line, I don't know, I'm still just apprehensive about it. The articulation is still weird and limited, and the marbling across the plastic is also a bit discouraging, having seen it now in 2 figures, albeit it is a bit less pronounced in the Megatron figure compared to the Optimus figure, but I don't know how I feel about these yet. I still have a concern with the scaling, with them being so short. I mean, again, there's the Hydra figure just to see standing next to Megatron again. I wish maybe these were more of a 7-inch scale, just to give some room for the smaller figures. And then you could even go up to 10 inches for some of the larger figures and things like that, if they were ever going to do something like that. Like, I don't know how you would do a Devastator in this line. It'd have to be essentially a Build-A-Figure type of thing. But I don't know. I'm still not fully sold on this. I still see myself maybe collecting the G1-based figures, just to have some decent poses and setups. Yeah, I think that's where I'm at with it. But anyway, I got Soundwave coming up. Should be tomorrow, I would assume. Hopefully I'll get that video taken care of soon. But anyway, that is it. If you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. Subscribe for more content just like this. And leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the Transformers Red series. Do you have them? Would you get them? Are you an avid Transformers collector and this line just totally turns you off? I'm really curious to know, so leave a comment. But anyway, that is it. And as always, thanks for watching my video, and have a great day.